Hello, lovely people, and welcome to another Doctor Who ranking video. And you have joined me for what might possibly be the most difficult ranking video of the series. It's the Fourth Doctor, Tom Baker, often cited as the Doctor by many fans. He is often cited as the best of the Doctors there ever has been. And I have to say, I kind of agree. He's definitely one of my top three favorite Doctors to watch, along with Troughton and the back end of McCoy. So it's very, very difficult, this, of course, because he's such an iconic presence to try and put these in any kind of order. But also because he was the longest serving, as the date of this video goes out, he is the longest serving Doctor at 7 years his tenure lasted. So there are a lot of stories to try and get through. So I'll try and skirt over them as quick as I can. So I might do some more in-depth reviews in a later video, but for now, just to get through 7 years of stories, and very different stories and eras they are too. He went through, I would say, about 3 different eras, Tom Baker, in that time. Lots of different showrunners and styles to his run. So let's just get on with it, shall we? As always, these are my opinions of favorites as this video goes out, which may change a lot. And I have no doubt that people watching this will have very, very different opinions to me, and that's okay. Just drop your opinions and your own personal preferences of favorite Tom Baker episodes in the comments below. And as always, keep it civil, Whovians. Right, so we start off with robots. A bit of a lightweight story, this one. But I really enjoy it. It's one of those that is really fun for, as I've said in lots of other videos, a rainy day. It's a rainy day Doctor Who, which means it's comfort watching, really. The story isn't particularly taxing. Giant robots takes on a town, and the Doctor, with help from UNIT and the wonderful Nicholas Courtney as the Brigadier, who is superb here, as always. Great quotes from this one. Come to try and sort it out, and it's very, very fun and watchable. I come back to it a lot, but in comparison to some of the other stories we've got to come, it's quite lightweight for a Doctor Who story, so I'm going to give it a high B. Next up, we have the Ark in Space, where the Doctor really takes off. Superb story set in space, sees the last of humanity on their way to a new planet being picked off one by one by a giant mantis-like creature. And I love the atmosphere of this one. I love the scenery. The sets are great. Tom Baker is so arresting in his performance in this one, and it goes straight to S. Then we have the Sontaran Experiment, one of the creepiest Doctor Who stories. It's only a 2-parter, but the Sontarans are deeply sinister. Was one Sontaran. He's deeply sinister in this one. Really worth a watch. And I love the TARDIS team in this as well. Sarah and the Doctor have such great chemistry from the beginning. And Harry is a very underrated companion, in my opinion. I love his chemistry with the Doctor as well. I'm going to put this one also as a high B, I think. Then we have Genesis of the Daleks, often cited as the greatest Doctor Who serial of all time, and I can see why. It covers the genesis of the Daleks, really. The Doctor is tasked with going back in time to stop the Daleks from ever existing by the Time Lords, who are very hypocritical in sending the Doctor to do this after they made him turn into John Pertwee and stranded him for so many years on Earth because they saw him as interfering. You can't really interfere more than eradicating an entire race. But there's some great moral questions brought up in this. It's a very serious Doctor Who, and quite a long Doctor Who, so it won't be to everyone's tastes, but I think it's definitely up there in S. I would put it slightly behind the Ark in Space, though, which is sacrilege, I know. But out of the two, I return to Ark of Space more, although Genesis of the Daleks is definitely in the S tier. Then we have Revenge of the Cybermen, the poor cousin of this first amazing series. It's often seen as the worst of the series, and I think it's wrongly maligned, really, mostly because it comes at the end of such a great series. But I think if it came a bit later in his time, it would be heralded a little bit higher. It's not the best Cyberman story ever, but it's good and definitely watchable. I'm going to put it as a C, a high C. Terror of the Zygons starts off the next season, season 13, I think, and is absolute essential watching. The beginning of one of the most creepy races in Doctor Who history, and it's so well done. Great storytelling throughout, and it's an S tier. Planet of Evil is Doctor Who's take on Forbidden Planet, I would suggest. It's got that kind of I love the effects on this as well. It has some great sort of the effects are kind of drawn on to the celluloid, and I think it works really well. It looks really good. And Sarah's great in this one as well, but I would probably put it as a high C compared to the rest of this fantastic second series of Tom Baker. Pyramid of Mars goes straight to S. Classic storytelling, classic direction, and absolute essential watch for the Tom Baker era. Then, in fact, I'm going to put that above. Yeah, I'm going to put it there above Terror of the Zygons. It's one that gets better every time I watch it. Then we have the Android Invasion. I always think this one's a little bit underrated. Philip Hinchcliffe took over around the time of Series 13, and I love how he kind of weaves in sort of classic horror into horror films and horror stories into this series. Android Invasion, it's got sort of elements of The Wicker Man and Body Snatchers, that kind of thing. There's basically aliens who can make androids that turn into facsimiles of people, in the same way as the Zygons. Actually, it's a bit of a recurring theme, isn't it? I'm going to put it as a B for now. It might get a bit higher as I watch it. Brain of Morbius is another horror classic. It kind of comes across as a bit of a Frankenstein's monster. It's essential watching, and it's an A. Seeds of Doom is similar to The Thing. If you've watched the Thing, both versions, the John Carpenter, which came later than this, and of course the 50s version. Plants that take over people. I love this one. I watched it again recently and forgot just how good it is. I'm going to put it there. It's an S again. There's going to be a lot of S's, I reckon. Mask of Mandragora. I always say Mandragora, but I think it's Mandragora. Filmed at Portmeirion, one of my favourite places in the world in Wales. It's okay. It's very watchable. This is very much the classic era of Tom Baker, so you can't really go wrong. But I'm going to put it, it's kind of more average, similar to Planet of Evil and Revenge of the Cybermen. So I'll put it as a C, a good C. Hand of Fear unfortunately sees Sarah Jane leave the TARDIS, which is very sad to see her go. Her and Tom's chemistry was just so good. It was so natural, and they just brought the best out of each other. So it's a shame to see it go. It's actually a really good story. I like this one a lot, and it doesn't often get mentioned as much as it should, because it's very suspenseful. There's a really underrated character in, who I can't remember his name, but the guy that basically sacrifices himself is a real kind of unsung hero in this one. I can't remember his name. Please, if you can, drop it in the comments below. But I'm putting that as it's A or B. A very high B. The Deadly Assassin is the only one I can think of where Tom is on his own, and I think that suited Tom Baker well at this point. I think he was decided after Liz Sladen left that he didn't really want a companion. But of course, it's not quite the same without having a companion there to kind of bounce off. But it's a great political thriller, this one, where he goes back to Gallifrey, and we see the Master return. What I call the crispy Master is in his last regeneration, and it's kind of turned into Skeletor. But yeah, it's a cracking one, this one, really good to watch, and it's going as an A. Face of Evil, another really underrated one. We get to meet Leela, and who is one of my favorite companions as well. Really, for want of a better word, ballsy. And her and the Doctor, I don't know how well her and Tom Baker got on, but they certainly have a good chemistry on screen, I think. And it's an interesting one as well, because the Doctor returns to a planet that he helped to give technology to, and as a result, some of them see him as a god, some of them see him as like the devil, and the computer there, this sort of manic computer, has taken on his form. It's really interesting, especially when he goes up against it, and it kind of has a bit of a schizophrenic episode. Really, really good stuff. I'm going to put it as an A. I'm going to put Hand of Fear as an A as well. I've done it now. The Robots of Death, great murder mystery. Love the sort of Art Deco robots in this. One of the best designs of a robot in Doctor Who, and it's an A as well. Talons of Wang Chiang, set in Victorian times with a sort of magician kind of thing. It's dated really badly, this one, because of the kind of makeup where they've made a white guy essentially look Asian. It's really quite uncomfortable to watch that in the modern era, but which is a shame, because the storytelling is brilliant, and Leela and the Doctor really have great chemistry in here again. But it's not one that I watch very often. I don't know why, actually. It's very good. It is a very good story, but it's not one that I enjoy that much when I do watch it. So I'm going to put it, this is where my favorite versus the best comes into play, because I would put it down here, but I know most fans would definitely put it up here. So this is just my own preferences, and the Talons of Wang Chiang, I think, is one that I need to come back and watch again and reappraise. So for now, it's going there. Horror of Fang Rock, I really love this one. Would have made a great Troughton story, this one, because it's kind of a base under siege story. They're trapped in a lighthouse, and people start getting picked off one by one and murdered, and they don't know who is doing it, and they eventually find out that it's the Rutons, which are a great sort of jellyfish shape-shifting alien, the enemies of the Sontarans. I don't think we see them in any of the story, which is a shame, because they're a great enemy. But I love this one, and again, it's a cliche again, but it's rainy day TV. It's very much one to watch when you need a bit of comfort viewing. I'm going to put it as an S. I'm going to put it there, I think. Yeah, that's about right, I think, for me personally. The Invisible Enemy is okay. It's not brilliant. It has one of those inner space, Fantastic Voyage storylines where the Doctor and Leela have to go inside his own body, his own head, to try and rid a virus, which when it comes out and is a giant prawn is particularly laughable, but up until then it's quite an interesting story. I'm going to put it as a high C. Image of the Fendal, I forget this one. It's quite a creepy one, similar to Pyramids of Mars. It's got that kind of Victorian horror feel to it. I don't think it is Victorian, but it's got that kind of hammer horror thing going on. It's okay. I'm going to put it as a C. Where though? I'm going to put it there, I think. Sunmakers is a really different one, actually, compared to the ones that have been so far. Very political, bit of a satire on taxes and government and things like that, and how the government sort of oppresses its own people. But the set very much looks like, and this is going to be a niche subject that only a few viewers are going to get, but if I get a few viewers, the set to me just looks like Chock-a-Block from the 80s, the early 80s, a kids TV show, and I can't really take it seriously with that, but it's very watchable. And so if it's very watchable, I would say it's about a C. I will put it probably more fun than these ones. It's a high C, I think. Yeah, let's put it as a high C. Put those two round if it'll let me. Come on. There we go. Right, next one, Underworld. I often forget this one. It's not great, and it's, sorry guys, it's a D. The Invasion of Time is probably my least favorite Sontaran story, but it's okay. It's average. I would put it, I think I'll put it as a D actually. Ribus Operation, never been a huge fan of this series, The Key to Time. The first Romana is played by Mary Tam, is absolutely gorgeous, but I find her chemistry with the Doctor, certainly in the early part of the Key to Time series, quite jarring at times. I've never liked it when you have a companion who kind of puts the Doctor down and tries to outwit them and things like that. Same with the modern era. I don't know. I think I prefer it when they're kind of more friendly with each other. So that put me off this a bit. So I'm going to put it as a D for now, but I think I maybe need to come back and rewatch this series because I know I've heard a lot of people say good things about it. Pirate Planet is very, very Douglas Adams and done in a very good way, but isn't necessarily the best. I'm going to put it there. I think it's a B. Stones of Blood, I enjoyed. Again, very sort of Wicker Man, but not one that I watch very often. So it's going to go there, I think. Androids of Tara, bit forgettable. I'm putting it as a D. Power of Kroll is very forgettable as well, and not the best effects ever. Bit of a B movie kind of one. Don't watch it very often, and it's going as a D as well. The Armageddon Factor is slightly better, I think. Some people don't like this one as much. I think it sees the series out a little bit better, so I'm going to put it as a low C. Then we're back to what I believe are slightly better ones, The Destiny of the Daleks. I really like this one. A lot of people compare it to Genesis of the Daleks, so obviously it's not nearly as good as that, but I do love the second Romana in this. I think her and the Doctor have a great chemistry from the off, both personally and professionally, as you know, they ended up getting married. I like this one, as long as you don't sort of compare it with Genesis of the Daleks. It's very, very watchable, and Davros is great in this as well, returns in this one. I'm going to put it this is getting tricky now. I'm going to swap a couple of those around. Yeah, about there, I think. Whew. Anyway, this next one is very easy to rate. It's City of Death, and it's straight into S tier. Again, the chemistry between Romana 2 and Doctor 4 is just so arresting in the City of Death. Probably the best of the Douglas Adams scripts as well. Very quotable. So many lines that you remember from it. I love Julian Glover as the bad guy in this. I love, is it Duggan, the sort of sidekick in this as well. It's very much essential viewing, and it's going to go, ooh, it's climbing up the ranks. I would probably put it as there. So yeah, very, very highly rated, that one. Creature from the Pit, not so much. It's okay, but it's very B movie, and some very dodgy scenes in this one with the very phallic looking alien. It's going as a high D, I think, that one. Nightmare of Eden, I kind of put this one and Horns of Nimon in the same category. They're not great. They're both Ds, I think. Sharda is was a missing story. It's been done in lots of it's been revamped in lots of different ways, but I really like it. It's probably not worth all the hype it gets because of it being missing. I think for so many years gives it a lot more hype, but I love this one. I love watching this one. It's very watchable, very comfort watching. I like the story. I love the Cambridge location that they go on. You might have seen some of the scenes used in the Five Doctors from this. Yeah, you definitely have to watch Shada, if anything else, just to see such an oddity in Doctor Who's timeline. A story that was not finished because of a writer's strike in the 70s. So the only kind of Tom Baker story that's not fully existing, but they've done a great job with the animation on this, on the most modern version. I'm going to put it as high B or a low A. Low A, I think. The Leisure Hive is all right. It's not the best. There's a couple of very notable bits. Personally, I love the music in this. It's got a real Tangerine Dream Kraftwerk soundtrack, which I really, really like. The people on it are quite unlikable, I have to say. But there's certain scenes that really stick with you, such as the one scene where the Doctor gets pulled apart in this weird contraption and then ages rapidly in it as well. That's definitely stays with you. A very striking visual on that one. But no, it's not the best. It's not great. I would put it at, I mean, it's watchable. I'll probably put it about there, I think. Then we're on to Meglos, where the Fourth Doctor takes on a giant cactus. Great to see the actress who played Barbara from the First Doctor, one of my favorite actresses ever, Jackie. She returns in this one, but it's passable, really. It's a C, I think, this one, but a watchable C. So I'm going to put it slightly up the ranks, about there, I think. No doubt these will all change as I watch them back again. Full Circle, interesting story. Can't stand Adric, really annoys me from the beginning. So a bit annoying to see him. But I like the whole idea of the E-Space trilogy. The idea of them being kind of stranded in a different alternate universe is a really cool one. And quite a good sort of moral story, this one, as the kind of bigoted people in it discover that they are another evolutionary step on the chain of the monsters that they dislike. So I'd probably put it as a B or a C. There's a lot of C's going on here. Sorry, Tom Baker fans. I watched it recently. It was quite watchable, so I'll put it as a low B. State of Decay, vampires in space. What's not to love? I'm going to put that as B. Warrior's Gate is one of those stories that is just crazy. I mean, I think along with Ghostlight from the Seventh Doctor's era, it's probably the strangest of all Doctor Who series. You'll be left scratching your head a lot with this one, but it is very interesting to watch, and I like the fact that they really tried to push the bounds of the boundaries of the show. It doesn't always work, but I'm going to put it as a. I watched it again recently and it was fun, so I'm going to put it there. I'm going to put Sontaran Experiment up a bit. I think I'm going to put that in A, and I'm going to put Robot in A as well, just because it's so much fun to watch. There we go. The Keeper of Traken is okay. The Master, the sort of second proper Master, as it were, after Delgado, Ainsley. Ainsley, what's it called? Oh my goodness, it's very hot today, so I'm losing my marbles. But yeah, the longest running Master, whose name escapes me for some reason, Anthony Ainley. There we are. I picked it out of my brain. There we go. It's Anthony Ainley, and much more sort of pantomime villain than Roger Delgado's sinister Bond villain. But I'm growing to love him as I watch more and more 80s Who. But the Keeper of Traken also introduces Nyssa, who is a very underrated companion. I always liked her, but she's not utilized very well in the Fifth Doctor's era coming up. But the Keeper of Traken is, I would say, about there. And lastly, Logopolis, which I really enjoy this story, this one song. A lot of people don't like it. I love the music. There's some great funky bass on this. I love as a Cheshire boy, I love seeing Jodrell Bank used in Doctor Who, and think about it every time I drive past Jodrell Bank, which is quite often. It's a lot of fun to watch this one. It's not the best story in the world. The Master and the Doctor basically trying to the Master trying to end the universe, the Doctor trying to save it. You know, your usual kind of thing. I'm going to put it, but it's very watchable. So I come back to it quite a lot. It's a high B, I think. Yeah, there we go. So, oh my God, that was difficult. That was so difficult. I think if I come back to this, I will probably change my mind on a lot of them, especially these ones. But yeah, I do think probably Ark in Space is my favorite, followed by Genesis of the Daleks, City of Death, Pyramid of Mars, Seeds of Doom. Yeah, these are all absolute essential viewing for not just Doctor Who fans, but science fiction fans in general, a real golden era of the show. These are all superb as well, and these are all very watchable. So yeah, what's not to love about the Fourth Doctor's tenure? I'm going to take a little bit of a break now and return with the Fifth Doctor as we go smack bang into the 80s with the Fifth Doctor, Peter Davison, but that will be in a few weeks' time. So up until then, I'd love to hear your comments below, and please consider liking, sharing, subscribing, and all those things on my page. All right, take care. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.